my channel. You're joining me on my hike today. I'm just going for a little bit of a walk. I had a nice big breakfast and now I want to walk it off. And I'm back home on South African soil, so I'm going to abuse it as much as I can before I need to go back to the Med where it's still like freezing cold. I'm lucky today it's a little bit overcast because generally it's like 40 degrees where my dad lives. We live in the Cedarburg. It's about 2 hours away from Cape Town and it's quite beautiful if you guys ever want to visit it out here. But that's not the point of my video today. The point of my video today is I want to share with you my weight loss journey. I lost 20 kilograms, not at the same time, I would say over the space of about 6 years. But it was a huge journey for me, and I know a lot of my friends and family commented on a few things and they wanted to know how. So I thought the best might be to make a video and then of course to share it with other people who might be interested in doing the same thing or just interested in maintenance and living a healthier lifestyle, because I know it's made a big difference in my life. Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm a world traveler. I've never really stuck to one place. I have worked in the hospitality industry most of my life. I was a teacher in Korea for a little while, which was actually where I made my biggest weight loss discovery. But more on that later. At the moment, I'm working on yachts in the Mediterranean, which I absolutely love. And yes, like I said, at the moment, I'm on holiday here in South Africa visiting my family. As a kid, I grew up in Namibia. A lot of you might not know where that is. It's the country above South Africa. It's a very huge country, but there's a lot of space with nothing going on because it's mostly desert. We didn't have the luxury of lots of different varieties of food, and dinner time was quite simple. As a kid, yeah, I was never really overweight, but I was never, put it this way, healthy either. I don't blame anything particularly. I mean, of course, back in the day, microwave meals and things like that were quite popular and people weren't very concerned about health or what we put into our bodies. In high school, I went to boarding school in South Africa because we didn't have a high school in our town. I absolutely loved it. It came at a very good time for me because I had quite a few struggles at home, so it was nice to sort of just get a breath of fresh air and to do something different and see something different. But I'm sure you can imagine boarding school food was not always the best. A lot of carbohydrates, and at the time I didn't realize that my body was not a fan of carbohydrates. So I mean, I remember midnight snacks when we were all like sort of in the common room doing our art projects, and we'd be like shoving peanut butter and jam sandwiches into our faces, like countless ones. And then I wondered why I was so big. I played a lot of sport actually at the same time. I used to do hockey, swimming, soccer, all that kind of thing. But it didn't obviously seem to do much because in 2008, that was in my matric year, grade 12, I weighed about 70 kilograms, and for my height, which is 159 centimeters, that was not ideal. Of course, then I didn't really realize it was a problem. And you know what, I'm actually quite grateful for that because I was very proud of my body. I actually thought I was pretty skinny. And you know what, for me it's all about being happy and comfortable. So if you're happy and comfortable in your body, that's all good. But right now, like I said, I'm more focused on the healthy part because I want to live to a ripe, awesome age, and I love exploring and adventuring. So it's very important for me to stay healthy and fit. Yeah, so after high school, I went to the UK to work for 2 gap years actually, and I was like a kid in a candy store. I mean, in Namibia we had a choice between like 5 different chocolates. In the UK there's like a lot, and then there's cheese, and oh my god, cheese. Who does not love cheese? Yeah, that's where I discovered my cheese obsession. And I actually remember, in terms of diet and healthiness, I mean, when you're 19, 20, you're living your life, man. You're just partying, enjoying everything. I was working as a waitress, so I remember we used to go out until like 4 o'clock in the morning, and then of course, what's the best thing to do is go to the kebab shop and have a yummy, awesome kebab. So yeah, that was that was my life. And I actually remember on the way to work there used to be like just a normal shop, and I remember every morning I would buy 100-gram Cadbury's bar, and I would eat this whole thing for breakfast. That would be my breakfast. So yeah, again, my weight fluctuated between 70 and 75 during that period of time. Okay, we're gonna start walking back now because this is South Africa after all. Not saying that it's dangerous, just saying that I'm in the middle of nowhere and lots of things can happen. It's snake season right now as well. But yeah, so then afterwards I returned to Namibia where I tried to work, and I got into a bit of a sticky relationship. So my weight fluctuated. It literally fluctuated between 10 kilograms. I went from 70 to 60, and yeah, it just was up and down all the time. After that, I returned back to South Africa and I started working as a guest house manager in a beautiful lodge. It was a wonderful opportunity and I loved it so much. And I had the gracious gift of also having my food included in my deal. So I started sort of researching a little bit about healthier foods and what was going on. And at the time, low carbohydrate diets were like very in fashion. So I started doing a little bit of this. I started cutting my carbohydrates, exercising more. I would go for runs and do Tybo. I don't know if anybody remembers Tybo. I had like a whole bunch of Tybo DVDs that I actually got from high school. So I whipped those out and I started doing Tybo. And so yeah, at that time I was about 62 kilograms and I was quite happy where I was. I wasn't obsessed, I wasn't crazy yet, but I do know that I did need to lose a little bit more, especially considering my history and fluctuating a little bit more. I wanted to be comfortable. Next journey was a friend of mine actually recommended it. We'd both finished our studies and we decided we wanted a new journey and a new exciting adventure, and we decided to teach English. So we started off with ACLE. If you don't know it, research it, it's awesome. You get to teach English in Italy to like the Italian kids on their holidays, and it's so much fun. It's all about like learning through fun experiences and all that. And of course I was in Italy eating lots of carbohydrates, but oh my gosh, their food is so good and so natural at the same time. That's what I really appreciate, is a lot of their products are very organic and they have a huge organic focus, and so like, you know, no MSGs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I loved Italy, but thank God I was only there for 3 months, because otherwise I think I would have come back looking like a house. Yes, and then after that I went straight to Korea, and that's where my journey started. Okay guys, so I think I might split this into 2 videos. Well, it will probably have happened when you're watching this, because I just like to sort of take you through my personal journey before I tell you actually what I did. So it was the beginning of 2017 and I decided, okay, now's the time, we're gonna sort this out. Also, upon moving to Korea, I'd never lived by myself, and it was a very new experience to me, and I had all this extra time. Being a teacher, you finish at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and if for anyone who's ever traveled to a country that's very far from your own culture, it is quite an adaptation, how do you say, like an adaptation period. And not only just that, of course the people around you have their own opinions and own feelings towards you. So for me, I found it quite a struggle. There were beautiful gifts in it as well. For example, because I was a Westerner, I was never really judged on my character. I was always judged as a group. So if I did something weird, it was like, oh, she's Westerner, it's all good. So running around in like my sports clothes up mountains and stuff like that was acceptable, but if I was local it would not be so acceptable, which means you should also respect other cultures, but that's a different story. Anyway, back to mine. Wow, that sounded so superficial. Anyways, yes, okay, so beginning of 2017 I made a conscious decision that I was going to lose weight, and my focus was I want to be skinny and I want a thigh gap. I mean, look at those models up there in the magazines and on TV with their beautiful thigh gaps. For anyone who's ever been obsessed with this journey, y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so that was how I started. Halfway through the journey I realized that shouldn't be my focus, and that it was unrealistic, and that it wasn't going to help me get towards my goals, because it was from a negative place. I mean, you don't have your body's best interest at heart, nor your mind, nor are you going to get to your goal that way. So after not really knowing how I was going to achieve this thigh gap, I started doing a series of very irresponsible, unresearched things. I started running a lot. I would run, I mean, before I could only run about 3 kilometers maximum without dying, and I worked myself up to 12 kilometers, and I was running almost every day, which I've spoken to runners now, and they've said that this is not really the best thing to be running 12 kilometers every day. You're not going forward, you're not going backwards. Your body just sort of is in a state of limbo, and your body adjusts because you do it every day. It becomes a normal routine, and your body just adjusts to it. My second biggest mistake was I calorie cutted, or I tried to calorie cut, and this meant that I wasn't really eating healthy things. I was eating unhealthy things. Like, I would eat a Snickers bar, which is about 300 calories, if I'm not correct. I can't remember now, it was quite a while ago. But yeah, I mean, 300 calories, and if my aim was about 800 to 900 calories a day, a Snickers bar is like taking up almost half of that. So, well, that sounded like terrible math, but you know what I mean. If you're going to feed your body with things like that, it's not going to be satiated, because for one, sugar, which is the predominant product in like a Snickers bar, it activates your hunger. I'm going to call it hunger cravings. There are technical terms for these, and I would recommend looking them up. I know when I got further into my journey, I looked a lot of these kinds of things up, and although I can't remember the technical terms, I remember the gist of it. And when you're eating a lot of sugar, your body craves a lot of sugar, and it's not satisfied, so you're just going to keep on being hungry, you're going to keep on feeling unsatisfied, and especially refined sugars and things like that are really not great for you. Okay, we're walking back again because we didn't get very far. Okay, so after all those things that didn't really work, running like a demon and eating very unhealthy things, not to mention also with sugar, is if you're not eating properly, you're not going to have energy. So you're going to feel terrible, and I know some people have magic skin that just can withstand anything, but mine can't. And my diet very much affects my skin and pimples and things like that. So your energy, your skin, of course your body composition, your diet really does make a big difference. There's a very big golden rule. Well, I would say bumper sticker rule, because I don't know how true it is, but they say 20-80. It's 20% exercise and 80% what you eat. So remember that next time you're putting something into your body. So I would say I started in January, and in about March I really started doing what I needed to do, doing the right things that was working for my body. I stopped running almost completely, and I started doing a lot of HIIT workouts. I checked out yoga for the first time. I did a lot of hiking because I absolutely love hiking. It started as a love for it, and then I would try and challenge myself and integrate a little bit of running up and doing lots of different things and jumping and like my version of parkour in hiking. I think that's the closest I will ever get. And yes, so I started doing that, and then I discovered weights, and weights made a huge difference to me. Also, a rule I picked up along the way is sort of, if you integrate weights into your working out and all that, it regulates your metabolism as well as your basic metabolic index, if I'm not mistaken. BMI is basically how many calories your body burns just being. So if you're lying on a couch all day and doing absolutely nothing, how many calories it burns, and the more muscle tone you have, the more calories you burn. So that's a pro. That's what we want. So yes, so weights was a huge step for me. And I'd also just like to say here, I didn't go to a nutritionist. I've never been to a nutritionist, and I didn't really ever go to gym. I tried a couple of times to go to gym, but it never really worked for me. I would find weights from people who left it in the building where I was staying at, or if I was on a trip somewhere. My HIIT workouts often include body weight things, which is another important factor for those people who travel. You can always integrate weights with traveling just by using your body weight. And yes, and remembering just to sort of, even though your routine is going to be broken, just sort of fit something in there somewhere, because your beautiful thing about your body is, although routine is great, it's always good to change things up, whether you change the time of day that you're exercising, whether you adjust it in terms of exercise eating, or whichever way you want to swap it around. Your body also likes change. I actually heard something really interesting, or I'd never really thought about it before, but I was having a chat with our engineer on our boat, and he said to me, he was telling me about a torture method that somebody used. I'm not sure where it is, but basically saying how they would give their prisoners like a beautiful meal of roast lamb. Okay, for those of you who don't like lamb, I'm so sorry, but like, oh, lamb for me is like amazing, especially a beautiful roast lamb. And yeah, and of course they would be like, whoa, okay, this is in prison, this is awesome. But when you've had that, like counting 10 days in a row, it starts to get a bit much. And this was one of their torture methods for their prisoners, because they would just feed them this every day. That would be their food. And for one, it's just mentally, that obviously is challenging. But in terms of your body absorbs all the nutrients that it needs from the food that you eat. And if you're eating the same thing every day, yes, it absorbs the nutrients initially, but then it has enough. And it can only take so much, and then it just rejects it, and you lose it. So essentially your body will go into starvation mode, which, come to think of it now, is part of why I might have also lost quite a bit of weight at some time, because I was eating very similar meals. But we'll get onto that later. Okay, so like I said, I'll include a more detailed video about how I actually did it, but for short term, or just for now, is yes, I started doing HIIT workouts. I integrated yoga. I would exercise about 5 times a week, and sometimes I would double exercise, so I would do maybe yoga in the morning and then go for a hike later on in the afternoon. My meals became very specific. I focused on a high protein diet, which, just FYI, I've also now researched, is not the best to sustain. A very, very dear friend of mine, he's very much into bodybuilding and working out and all that, and he has a very high protein diet, and he was trying to apply for a job actually on a ship, and the doctor said to him he can't, he needs to change his diet, because if he keeps on eating as much protein as he does, his liver's not going to hold out for very long. So for any of you protein babies out there, because that's very much where I was, that's just something that you should be aware of. But I do, and I mean, it happened to me, I recommend it for fast weight loss, because the beautiful thing about protein is it's not like sugar. When you eat it, it makes you feel satiated, it makes you feel full, and your body takes longer to process protein, so it stays in your digestive system a little bit longer. So yes, you feel full for longer, and you don't feel like you need to eat, which obviously makes you eat less. Well, sometimes it depends what your reasons are for eating. Every person is different, nothing is set in stone. But yes, so I ate mostly chicken breast and tuna, and every now and again I would throw in some pork, just for a bit of fat, because then of course the keto diet was coming in fashion. So I also tried a little bit of the keto diet. So I would say mine was a mixture between paleo, keto, whole foods, high protein. I sort of interchanged between those things, but my main basic rule was just to try and stay away as far as I could from carbohydrates. And carbohydrates and sugar supposedly act the same way in your body, so I would also try and stay far away from sugar as well, because in the beginning I didn't realize that fruit was a carbohydrate, and it is. And even vegetables, so to a certain extent, but vegetables also are very high in protein, of course, depending on what you're eating. And gotta have me some veggies, man. Veggies are awesome. And now I love fruit, so things have changed quite a bit. But yes, so I did a lot of exercise and I watched what I ate. No MSG loaded foods, or I know if you look at the back of the label, sometimes you have those E123 things. None of those kinds of preservatives. I would religiously read labels on the back of every food product. And yes, a lot of my friends will tell you that I became a little bit crazy. You can just imagine. I'll never forget one of my friends not shouting at me, but just like smiling at me and giving me that look when I was asking her opinion on the difference between, was it hemp seed and flaxseed and the health benefits. I mean, what an exciting conversation. But yes, so boom, 6 months later, I hit my 50 goal. It was amazing. Although truth be told, a lot of people were quite worried about me, and I realize now that it was, well, I realized even then, but I had set myself a goal that I wanted to reach 50, and I had come so far and I wanted to see if I could really do it. And I did do it. And it was an amazing feeling, like achieving something so difficult, because it is difficult. For those of you who have tried or who are on this journey, I salute you, because it's a tough journey to follow. You have influences everywhere. Your friends, the people that you work with. I worked in a school of kids. I mean, every morning they'd come to school with the most delicious snacks. And yes, temptation is everywhere, and it's very easy to fall short. And if you can push through this, I would say you could literally do anything, and you can push through this. All it takes is a little bit of dedication and picture your goals. The most important thing is to have a goal. I didn't set a specific time goal, but my goal was 50 on the scale, which is also another problem that I had, is I was obsessed with my scale. But all these things, if you do them in balance, they become, it will work. It's just that I have a very obsessive personality, and that's sort of the way that I went about things. But yes, I will never forget the day. I think I woke up in the morning and I weighed myself, and I was about 50. I think I was 51. One of the biggest things about my journey is I always kept hydrated. So I knew that, oh, that gave me a heart attack. Sorry, just some notes that I had made flying around in the wind. Yes, I always kept hydrated. So I decided that morning I'd had enough. I was tired. I know my friends were tired of listening to me about this whole journey. So I'm going to go for a hike. So I was fasted. I hadn't eaten anything for breakfast. I had a cup of coffee, and I went on about a 3-hour hike, which I'm sure a lot of people will tell you, okay, this is just like the wrong way to do it. But I did it, and I came back and I weighed myself, and I was like 49.5 or something like that, and I was so happy. And then I sort of started, remember, I'm doing this all by myself, so it was adjusting everything after, researching tons of resources on what to eat, what not to eat, what exercise to do, what not to do, what's the best way to lose weight, fastest way, healthiest way. Now it was about maintenance, and not just maintenance. Like I said, a lot of people became quite worried about me, because remember I said I was obsessed with that thigh gap? Well, my body does not work that way. I lose all my weight here first, and then I lose weight on my legs. And I realized very quickly that body composition is just something that you're gonna have to fall in love with, your own body composition. And I did. I love my body. But yes, the scary thing is that 50 is I had no boobs. You could very much see my rib cage. You can probably see it now a little bit, but it was really bad. And yeah, it just was not the most, not that it wasn't attractive, it just didn't look healthy. So I did put on a little bit of weight. I currently weigh 55, which at the moment is a little bit heavier for me, because I'm not as muscly as I would like to be. So this holiday is also about sort of getting back on track, and I'm being now accountable to you because I'm telling you all my secrets. But yes, that was my journey, and it was a very tough and exciting journey, but I am so grateful to it, because how it started out was a very unfocused, unresearched, shallow way or dream of reaching a goal, whereas now it's all about being healthy, all about making sure you know what's going into your body. I mean, there's horror stories. I remember reading an article in South Africa once about the products that they put into bread. I don't know if anyone, you know, plaster of Paris, that stuff that you put on, like if your arm is broken, that stuff. Like someone had done research and there was plaster of Paris in bread. Like, how is that good for your body in any way? So yes, so now it's all about being healthy and fit, and being able to climb all the mountains and hike all the places that I want to hike. And yes, I hope that whatever your reason is for wanting to do this is from a good place, because I realized very quickly that when I started focusing more about being healthy and like nutritious and seeing the difference between my energy. I mean, I had so much energy, and I still have quite a bit of, I have really good energy. I just eat a lot of chocolate still. So I still eat some sugar every now and again. But when I was at my healthiest, my energy levels were ridiculous. And yes, and from focusing on all of that, it just flowed much better, and everything worked much better, and loving your body. I'm very much into the law of attraction at the moment, not so much The Secret, but listening to other things and doing quite a bit of yoga and all that. And it's all about positivity. If you're going to address any issue with positivity, you're more likely to get a positive reaction. And I found that definitely with weight loss. So guys, I hope that this has been helpful. It was a little bit sidetracked every now and again, but I mean, who are we if you're not getting a little bit sidetracked? I hope you enjoy my video. I know it's a little bit unorthodox, but you know what, I am a little bit unorthodox, like we all are. And after trying millions of takes the way everybody else does it, I decided, screw it, I'm gonna do it my way. As a dear friend once told me, is like, Kendall, you just do it your way. Like, it doesn't matter, no makeup, no whatever. That's not the kind of person I am. So you're finding me here in my natural habitat. And yes, if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions, let me know. Like I said, at the moment I'm back home, so I'm actually going to be doing an 8-day detox, and I'll try and record a few things and maybe make another video to tell you how I did that, just to get back on track, because traveling 24 hours in a plane, eating plain food is not the best. And also it's been Christmas like 2 months ago, and I might not have bounced back very quickly from that. Cool guys, thanks for joining me once again, and good luck with your journey, and I hope that this has inspired a little bit, or given you a little bit of motivation. I will be more thorough in my next video about exactly what to eat, or what I ate, and the exercise that I did, sort of my weekly routine and how it went, as well as some problems that I experienced during my journey. Just so you know what to look out for, because I wasn't very aware of them, and most of my information comes from researching things on YouTube and watching videos like this, as well as other resources which I'll include in the next video. If you'd like, check me out on Instagram. I'll leave all my information in the DM below, description below. Otherwise, yeah, have an awesome day and do something beautiful, do something that you've never done before.